Well, good evening, everyone. It's time again for Gethsemane 7 at 7. 7 minutes of encouragement, 7 minutes of hope. I know you may have been expecting somebody else, but I get to do it 2 nights in a row. To me, that's pretty awesome. I want to thank everybody that's going to join, that will join, that's joining, who'll watch this later. Man, we thank God that we're able to come into your life and be a blessing to you. So last Sunday's sermon, Pastor John, we're still continuing our message on Let It Shine. And Pastor John, if you don't have the sermon notes, our Let It Light It Up is actually the sermon series. Let It Shine was the message that Pastor preached. And it was an awesome message. And man, I encourage you to go online, download the sermon notes. You can follow through on it. You can take notes yourself, and it'll be a blessing to you. So one of the things that John talked about, that Dean Munsterman said, was that Jesus is the main event. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight. But before I go into that, I was listening to a radio program, and a teacher came on. And the teacher started talking about how she grades all these papers and where she has to give a grade based on people's performance. And, and she talked about how, we really do live in a life of performance. We get merit raises. We try to do well on our job because we know if we do well, then they may promote us, so everything seems that we're kind of centered around performance. But when it comes to God, we can't be centered around performance, because how he is towards us, God is not moved by performance. It'd probably be the best way to say it. I don't care how good you are. I don't care how moral you are. God is not moved by your good works. He's not moved by your performance unless your performance is stemming from what you believe. When you look at the life of Abraham, it didn't say anything about Abraham obeying God. It says Abraham believed God. And because Abraham believed God, we see a result of that belief is that he would do what God told him to do. Because he believed him. God gave him a promise. Abraham believed it. God gave Abraham and Sarah a promise that they were going to have a child. They believed it. I mean, even to the point of changing their name for a year before their child even came along, they believed what God said. And Abraham, it tells us in Romans that Abraham believed God, and it was accredited to him, or counted to, accredited him for righteousness. In other words, in the eyes of God, because Abraham believed, he was made righteous, not because of what he did. Because he did what he did because of what he believed. Hey, Rachel, how you doing? Hey, Miss Shirley. So Abraham, we see Abraham's demonstrating his faith by what he did. And God didn't bless Abraham based on Abraham's performance. He blessed Abraham because Abraham believed him. Now, when we talk about Jesus being the main event, we're talking about what he did for us, not what we can do for us. I can't do enough to be forgiven. I can't do enough to be healed. I can't do enough. I mean, think about it. If you base what God does for you in your life on your performance, when would you be finished? You wouldn't. I mean, you never would be finished. You would never have an assurance that God was moving on your behalf. And I love that because we don't have to do that. And I wrote this down when Pastor John was preaching. And I said, we believe that Jesus is the main event and not our performance. So let us take our focus off on our performance and focus on the main event, on what Jesus did for us. I mean, man, think about it. I don't have to perform for God, for him to love me, bless me, heal me. All I have to do is believe. I mean, man, that there is such a rest in that. There is such a peace in that I don't have to perform so God's happy with me. I mean, think about it. It says that he demonstrated his own love for us in this, yet while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. He didn't wait for me to do well. He didn't wait for me to get everything lined up the way it's supposed to be. He just did it because he loves us. Now, in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, in verse 4, it says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. Now, for years when I read that, I thought that I had to make all my thoughts obey Christ. Well, that's really not what it's saying. What it's saying is that I have to bring every thought into captivity to measure it by his obedience. So when I bring every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, that means that, okay, if I've got these thoughts that I've got to do this or God won't do this for me, well, no, that doesn't line up, because it's based on what Jesus did, not based on what I do. All I have to do is believe in the finished work of the cross, just like Abraham believed God. I had to believe that what Jesus did at Calvary for me was enough. I had to believe that. And what happens is that when we get so performance-based minded, any time that we make a mistake or mess up, we limit the light that shines from us. And we actually don't let it shine the way it needs to, because we're basing it on our performance and not on what Jesus did. I mean, think about it. We actually hide that light when we don't believe what Jesus did for us was enough. But when we do, man, it opens the door for our light to shine to the whole world, that we're forgiven, that we're blessed, that we're healed, that we're the victors and not the victims. I love that. I am not a victim. I'm a victor because of what Jesus did, not because of what I did. He said, I'm more than a conqueror. He's already conquered and I get the benefit from it. Therefore, I'm more than a conqueror. And it's not based on how good I am or how well I've done with God. It's based on what he's done for me at the cross. God loves me. God loves you. I mean, God loves you more than you can imagine. And he wants to bless your life more than you can imagine. And I mean, you think about it, when you rest in him this way and you understand how much that he loves you regardless of how you act, all right, it makes you want to do the right things. It makes you want to live the right way. And he empowers us to do that. Well, bless God, my time is up. I love you guys. I appreciate everything. And I want you to know that God loves you. I thank everybody for joining. Have a great night. See you tomorrow at Sunday service. It's going to be wonderful. And Pastor John's going to be ministering again. God bless you. Have a wonderful night.